Okay, welcome. This is March 7th, 2023, and let's talk about today. So, today we had a nice volatile day, not a ton of movement in Globex, and then the chairman was speaking at 10 sharp. So, that pretty much opened the doors to a bunch of volatility, and it lasted pretty much all day. The volume was heavy. Yeah, so this is the daily. In the overnight session, the highest we got was about 380. I was kind of thinking short 350 or 380. And 380 was it. And it never really came back to that. All of the Globex session. This is the daily. We had that topping tail candle on Monday. We had the nice move up higher, a couple hundred points, and then it basically rolled over and sold, right? People know that there can be uncertainty in the market when there's a Fed chairman speaking or any other big economic news. So basically, from the lows on the reclaim of the 925, basically you're up 500, 600 points. It's pretty likely to see profit taking, right? And then we have that downtrend line from here. Kind of getting close, not quite there, but, and then the 200-day moving average is what I have on my charts. So, once we break the 12275, it can create very quick selling, right? It's basically a breakdown, and it went all the way down to 145 to find support. So let's look at the chart for the intraday. We'll start with Globex. I'll try and keep this one brief tonight, but so this is the Globex session open. It finds support right at the previous day's close. So that's kind of something I always look for, both in Globex and RTH, is when we open somewhere where there's very low risk, after maybe having a big sell or a big trend or even continuation, just something that's easy to risk versus, right? So, you're kind of getting long on the 320 level here, 315. Once it reclaims, risking versus this, targeting 380 probably is where I would look, 350, 380. So nice 60-point grinder overnight, but it was really slow, right? You would have missed it by a few points here, and then into London, we saw a nice push up, and then it was met by selling, right? So that's where there was previous action the previous day, in the Globex session, pre-market, and then retesting here. So a lot of activity around that 380 level. So a good short. And yeah, Globex, for me, when I trade Globex, I just set my targets, set my fills, set my stops, and then I either wake up green or red, right? Small size, usually one contract, or 5 micros, maybe even. Sometimes if there's a lot of activity going on, like there's a prominent news release in, the London session or something, I'll maybe try and tune in a little early. But I don't usually look at the market till about 5. So 5 EST, 6 EST, somewhere around there is when I'm going to do my levels and looking for the day ahead, basically, right? So always good to keep an eye on that. Anyways, close to the open, we made our high for the night, lower high, and it basically broke this little trend that was kind of going on here, right? Just into the open. So I don't like to actually short the break of this. I like to short first the previous high if I'm thinking it might break down, right? The same thing's happening in both directions. Is basically it's consolidation, right? There's no one really in charge in here. Maybe a slight edge to the bulls from the overnight, but as soon as it came up somewhere where the risk reward is favorable, the bears kind of won it out, right? And then we got the breakdown just before market open. So let's go to RTH quick. So RTH, same kind of deal, right? So let's go to the 1 here. It'll be a little easier to see. And this is kind of interesting. And I'll kind of look a little bit at S today as well, because there's some interesting concepts, right? So basically what I was thinking is either we're going to break 315, 320 out of the gate and sell immediately as a risk off, or we hold it and they try and rally, right? So the rally to where it happened makes sense, right? Like it's kind of right in here. Sorry, let me turn the magnet off. Okay, so we got this kind of little bit of action in here, right? So you can shorten there, and I actually did get short, but I closed it before the speaker, which was silly. I should have just let it roll. That's okay, right? Because easy risk here again, just like in the Globex Open, there's a low, and we're opening pretty much right on support, so it's an easy low risk long versus just underneath these, maybe risking 10, 12 points, and then you get that fast push up, right? And then a little bit of consolidation, fails to move higher on this push, comes back down, still is holding the low, comes up, makes a lower high, and then as soon as that breaks, all the stops are under there or under here, and then you get that immediate flush into the speaking, right? Very volatile move. It's 200 plus points. Well, no, it's about 150 points in 5-10 minutes. Bound to see some support. Comes back up and it retests the open. So that's a very low risk short. Getting short into there. Like here, I would risk fixed points. And if it comes up and stops me, I'll just look to get back in. And then it kind of gives you the confirmation, right? Comes back down, tries to make a higher low versus this, pops back up, gives the lower high, and then sells. Finds activity around here. People are trying to find the low of the day. Grinds higher, and basically that was it. Once it failed to hold above in this 255, 275, which was kind of key. Really, it needed to hold over 275, and it needed to make a higher high over this high to kind of squeeze the shorts. But it couldn't do it, and then we finally had this breakdown here, right? Comes up, lower high. This is the lower low. This is the lower high, right? This is the confirmation for trend change, right? So even if you're shorting here, you're going to risk versus this. Get the breakdown. Like really this 255 level could probably be gone, but there's a lot of action on the hourly between these two levels, so I kind of left them both. But yeah, breaks down, tries to rally, and then sell. Tries to rally, rallies into the kind of recent lows, sell, right? And then right into 145, which I called a long live there, and we got 85 right here. So not bad, 40 points, right? Almost came back. I thought it was going to stop us out. I had moved to break even from the 145, but it ended up being okay. So yeah, this kind of action's hard because it's like pop, 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 sell, right? Because it's so fast, it's silly not to take profits on a move like that. And then same with this, sell, 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 consolidation, right? Profits, a little bit of a squeeze. You know, people are just risking anywhere they can risk that's low, right? Anywhere where the risk is low, they're risking. Like in here, they're risking versus this low, you know? In here, they're kind of risking versus this, maybe versus this a little bit, but they're trying to fill here, and they're just kind of risking fixed points. Sells, comes back down, takes profits, consolidate, and then you get this kind of trend line break here, right? Basically like that. It has this, they're looking for the breakdown when they get short here, lower high, and then when it fails to roll over, stops are above this, pops, 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 comes back, and then they're getting short versus this high, right? So like if you're trying to short in here, there's not a lot to risk versus. You know, you can risk versus this little tiny peak, not really important when there's another peak right above. So that's kind of how it works. I find at least. Oh yeah, and then we're gonna look at S a little bit. So same thing, except ES was actually making new lows while NQ is grinding higher. So NQ is actually a little stronger today, which is not super common. Usually they're pretty much in tandem, I find, but it's always good to look at ES for the levels, right? So it shows the weakness here. It's making, like, in this time frame on NQ, we made low of the day, popped up, and then we kind of made higher lows, right? Whereas ES was grinding down, and you know, nearing 4,000. So you got to watch for pops like this. But again, basically just straight sell every time. And same with into the close, right? Right where the 45 was on NQ, right here. ES is just a few points away at 80, you know, and 82 can be support as well. So kind of key, good things to watch, those couple things. So yeah, I think there's more speaking tomorrow. We had a lot of big moves. I'm not sure exactly what to expect. I'll have to see what the Globex session does overnight. So far we have came down and retested 145. So I actually got short in here, I think at 80. So I had profit targets here at just under 45 at 3 times my risk. And then I wanted to get long. I can't remember if I put the orders below or what, but I wanted to get long into 145. That's what I called out into the chat, at least, is that's a decent long. And again, I'd risk fixed points, probably put 12 points. So you'll be okay if you longed 145. If we clear this high here at about 70, say, or it comes down, tests 45, holds above, comes up, makes the higher low over this, we could push back up to here. If we clear any of this, clear any of that in there, we could start getting some of this, some back up into here. But I kind of am expecting lower. You know, this 45 is kind of key. Is it on the weekly where it looks more? Right, it's kind of giving us that, you know, maybe potential. But so far we have the lower high. If we break this, if we actually come down and take out 925 again, and then the most recent low, I think we're going to end up back down here in the 1100s. Maybe not in 1 week, but in a couple weeks. Monthly, same thing, right? Breaks back below there, people are going to start getting short on the monthly. So that's not that far away, especially with the volatility that we've had. And yeah, same with the daily. 45 breaks will probably make the next leg down to 60-ish, 50, 60, somewhere in there. And then we'll have to see. And then ES is under 4,000 again. So also looking quite bearish. You know, we've have this, that trend is broke from the recent highs to here. Between the trend hasn't changed from down. So yeah, it could get ugly. I think that's it for me tonight, guys. Have a good evening.